Warzone might be ruined. Even with some of the best updates that they've had, if you've been reading online, that's what it seems like. I did a video reviewing Warzone and asking, is omnidirectional movement ruining the game? I went through all of the comments on that, and many were split. Overwhelmingly, though, people are disappointed with this update, which is fair to say. I've got a lot of disappointment myself. And it wasn't even specifically for that omnidirectional movement either, although many don't necessarily like that too. Warzone's strange because they keep on changing the entire identity of the game each year, versus most games, they build something and then build off of it, add more content to it. This is constant gigantic gameplay shifts, so it's more difficult for them to really keep a core consistent audience without off a bunch of people along the way, like we saw with Warzone 2, them completely stripping the game down and making it slow, crazy speeding it all back up in Warzone 3, and now here we are in number 4. I kind of compare it even to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, where for the most part this game has stayed the same, but they've added a ridiculous amount of maps, made quality of life improvements, and largely they've maintained a very strong core audience there with that, because of what they're doing. But that isn't really how Call of Duty operates, even on the multiplayer zombie side, everything, right? I wanted to put together my thoughts and the points that I've seen around the community on what is different, what is disliked, what are the problems with this game, mainly to give an opportunity for feedback from myself and tell you guys what I've been thinking, as well as, of course, to get your guys' comments and inputs down below. Again, keep it constructive and civil. Yes, I get a lot on the internet these days, but usually our comments are great, honestly. But I've personally been enjoying this game. They have had wins. I have a lot of good things to say. The weapon camos and the grind for Warzone is awesome. Switching to body shields instead of interrogations lets you move around, do stand-up executions, which has been very fun. We no longer have a bag system, instead satchels. So much easier to manage. The knife pullout has been epic, especially when I'm running a sniper and I want to quickly rotate or move. The ascenders are way faster. You don't need to do the zip trick and glitch the game in order to use it. You also don't have to wait for your team anymore. You can both grab on. The perk overhaul changed the way the game plays. It's no longer completely reliant on smokes. High alert now isn't an instant must pick, telling me the direction of where people are looking at me from. Instead, just telling you if somebody's looking at you, not the direction, and if somebody's in your close proximity, even crouched, hiding in a corner. They have custom reticles, custom emotes. You can even do sprays, although I haven't utilized those too much. And the third-person element doesn't seem too bad, because you make noise when you do it, and you're also locked in that animation. I haven't seen it being a significant impact, at least. Kill streaks seem better. Got rid of some of the annoying ones, although I don't know the point of SAM turret quite yet. And a lot of what we had in the game is still there. You can still see all your squad mates' inventory. The legacy XP tokens have even been put into the game, even back in multiplayer. But for Warzone, they're all there. We have all the carryover for Warzone for the old operators and skins. The weapon attachment system being made more simple. Even at the launch, we have solos, duos, trios, quads. They took away duos and trios for us at the end of Warzone 3 before this update. And even the loot being highlighted is just a very nice quality of life change to easily pick up and know what you want to get. So there's a lot of good things, at least in my book, that I've been enjoying. But why all the hate for this? What's going on? Especially if you're on the outside seeing all of these comments. I mean, let's be real. You've probably seen some of this and are pissed off for some reason. Let's see if it's in here to start. I think the best place to start is the audio in this game. I mean, you are praising all of these great updates and changes, and then we get this launched audio that is the worst audio that we've ever had in the game. You can't hear somebody right next to you taking the sender, let alone full sprinting. It's terrible. Even if you get the pay-to-win audio, you could change every setting. Heck, you could be loudness equalized, all the PC audio tricks, and the sounds just don't exist. Now, they have done an update over the first weekend that did add a lot of those sounds back, and it has been better, I will say. But even the way that some of the new audio works, where the sounds kind of bounce off of the walls, makes you think that you hear enemies, but you're really just hearing yourself running past some buildings. And while it is better, I want to actually be able to hear footsteps and have a solid base first before we start trying to make some crazy changes to it. And I feel like this game's never been quite perfect enough to start pushing to some of those directions, especially with all of the bugs that are in the game. We got to figure out what the heck all these problems are. And I feel like, just to preface it too, this is like a beta of the game. I feel like they had to hit a launch window here with Black Ops 6. Of course, they're not going to delay that. That game came out very well polished, I would say. But this clearly not being done needed some more time that they're also then not going to delay and have two separate versions of the game for. And I think that's what's put us here. My guess is they didn't intend to push all of this out all at the same time, but hopefully now it can be fixed before Verdansk comes out a couple of months. Right now, it seemingly is going to take 2 to 3 seasons to fix this, at least from what I could probably guess. I noticed problems plating. You try and do a plate and it doesn't even do the animation at all, so you don't know if it's gone in or happened. Many things don't have animations or even the sound effect occurring at the right time. Likewise, even with Quick Fix, I take the plate and my health doesn't even regen. I put a prestige token into this and it doesn't even work. Maybe that's why it doesn't work. Hotkeys that I'm also binding in the game don't work. If I try to grab somebody with the body shield animation, for example, I set it so it was scroll wheel forwards or backwards, so I could just go and spam it. It works in multiplayer, but I do it here, and I just am standing behind somebody before he turns around and kills me. Sound effects even outside of the core gameplay, though, like if you're doing an execution, aren't popping up, and those old blueprint optics don't even exist in the game anymore, which I was kind of hoping would be implemented, especially with all the optic changes. However, that's only for the new weapons. It's separate for all the old ones. As you're going through changing attachments, none of the stats work. Sometimes it occasionally does, but especially for the old ones, it's not giving you accurate numbers when you go into the details chart. Even just trying to figure out ADS timing, you have to apply or take off an attachment. It's a mess. You go into a game, and every time at the beginning, you hear everybody in the lobby. And then even when you're just running around in the game, you'll hear proximity chat for people that are on the other side of the entire map. It does lead to some funny interactions and engagements talking to people, but terrible for the gameplay experience, especially if we're what we're used to. So in most of the games, I'm just muting chat. When you're going over picking up items, a lot of times the game just completely freezes. You pick up a perk package off the ground and you stutter for 3 or 4 seconds and you're dead sometimes by the time you come back. Despite, of course, the game crashing a lot, dev errors, infinite loops of dev errors. And there's even more perks that I've seen not working. Bird's Eye doesn't seem consistent at all. When I've called it in, that should be countering anybody with Ghost, but I've pushed buildings where I only see 1 dot and then there's 3 people in the building. I've also taken way too much fall damage, which I'm actually not even kidding, okay? I have Mountaineer on, even with Specialist or just with what I have. It's now Dexterity, it's built into it. And I'm taking fall damage from like 5-10 meters high. I even took a stim and got 0 health from it. Even went back, replayed the clip. Some people were saying, it was because you took fall damage. When again, I jumped off of a 5-foot height. I shouldn't have taken any fall damage, and I don't even think I did. I think it was just broken overall, so maybe stims are also broken. I don't know. I even had a case where my teammate was knocked out. I try and go up and res him, and there's just no prompt. Sorry, brother, you're dead. I can't res you. I killed the team. We're safe. I should have been able to res them. If you get Specialist, you also cannot go pick up another perk package because your perk package from your loadout will overwrite Specialist, getting rid of it, which is so much fun. Honestly, we could go through an enormous additional list here, but I think you get the point of it. There are tons and tons of problems. I'm sure you've experienced even more, if not some of these as well. There are a couple helpful bugs in the game as well, which I will not necessarily mention here because I call them features, and I'll leave that to my streams to continue to be used until they're fixed. But outside of the bugs, I think a lot of these things are just intentional or things that I don't think they're actually going to get to. For example, the skins that are in the game. While we do get these carry forward from the previous one, you can't apply any of the skins from the old game onto the new one. Like you could when MW3 came out, you could apply your MW2 nuke skins onto any of those weapons. Now, not all of the mastery ones and whatever, but the other event ones and things that we've been unlocking for, years now, we could have applied. And that is not the case. Same thing, even old executions that are for the old operators, you can't put those onto any of the new operators. And even vice versa, if you get one of the cool new animations from the store now or even from the battle pass, you can't apply those executions to any of the old operators that if you want to main one of the old ones or run one of the ones that give you infinite double XP with your buddies, doesn't exist anymore. You can't use any of those things. It doesn't cross over. The biggest complaint, though, that I've seen from everybody is the new map, Area 99. And I think there's a couple elements after playing this map. That's what I've mostly been playing since the game came out, really getting a feel for it and understanding of it. I think there's a couple reasons for this. One of them is the size of the map. This is smaller than Rebirth Island. You parachute in anywhere on this map and you can land anywhere very easily, especially because most of the map is pretty flat. They got this big point in the middle with this tower, which some people complain about that too. I think it's at least relatively exposed, so you can snipe back at people that are sitting up there, but it does add a really weird angle on everywhere on the map that is then annoyingly, you're in a fight with somebody and they can third party in from up top at any point, especially if you don't have a sniper or something to shoot back at. Nonetheless, the size that it is for the number of players that are on there, this is still the same amount of players as Rebirth Island with respawning, is a problem for the different modes. So straight up for solos, because everybody, you have 44 people landing in their own drop spot location to get their initial come up, every building is completely packed. Like you gotta land, get a gun, and then kill everybody around you, and then kill the respawn coming back in, or just hide in a corner and wait for half the lobby to die off in the first 5 minutes of the game, and then start to play it. Same thing in duos too. But that gets even crazier because now, if you land with your buddy and you both die right away, you're instantly out of the game. I feel like duos for resurgence needs to have some type of element that's more like solos, because you're most often going to be stacked with your teammate and playing together, and if you both die out immediately, it ruins the entire end game for duos, where the beginning is complete and utter chaos. You cannot live for a second, and then you get past that, if you maybe even just hide somewhere, and then the whole lobby's dead. And because nobody comes back, because there's so many just full team wipes that constantly happen there. Then you get to trios and quads, and at least there's teams landing together, so, there's less total drop spots. There's only 10 kind of major spots. Some people will land spread from each other, whatever, but there's still so many people all packed in on this. And there are just more people respawning, because then you do have at least one person that stays alive, so the whole squad comes back and everybody's just constantly raining down. So there's problems across the board with all of it for, I think, the size and the modes and how things that there's going to need to be some tweaks for. I think the way that they've balanced this is just by making there be a ludicrous amount of cash on the game. You can get loadouts, you can get specialist bonus, buy your own gun so many times, so much cash. But I think the core problem with that is that this is really like a team deathmatch mode. You go in, you get a kill or two, you respawn, it doesn't even feel like a battle royale for the most part. It does when you get to that end game, if you can make it there, but that's my hunch on why a lot of people are really disappointed with the new map and how it's actually playing. And you guys tell me what you think, if there's something else with it. It's not just the small map that people are having problems with, though. The big map, which of course is a complete bring back of Ur-zikstan, going back to the original version, which a lot of people have their own gripes for in the first place, has mostly bug problems with it as well. The graphics look very strange. It looks like you're a smaller character than you were on the old map, which is also odd. The field of view seems like it's more zoomed in. You have less peripheral vision on the same settings. The whole map has a haze to it, and on top of that, the look of the map graphically, even on the same settings, and even if you try and turn your settings up, the rocks have shadows around the edges. Everything just looks really bad on it. It looks like it's been a huge downscale from what it was, which maybe they need that in order to have the stability. They've tapered everything back for it. I don't know. But you had a map that was running very well, that was constantly being refined, and was, for the most part, looked great. Just within a day, snapped away from what people were used to playing, and then brought down a peg on the graphics and how the map even feels. Literally like you're playing a done game going into a beta. It's just I don't even know when I've ever done that before. Now, I haven't played too much of the big map myself yet, but slowly I'm getting more reps on to it. Mostly played the new map. Regardless of the map, there has been a tremendous slowdown as well. Now, you might say, oh, omnidirectional movement, everything looks like it's going even faster. You see the clips of the people sliding and twirling and everything. And yes, that gunplay and the fluidity is faster with the slides and integrating into the combat for it. But it's the things between the combat that slowed down. So you throw an armor box on the ground, it would just instantly refill your armor or your ammo instantaneously. Now, you have to do the animation. It's down on the ground. Wait another second. Then you can hit the box, and you actually have to take that action. It doesn't just instantly happen when you put the box down. Mantling is much slower if you want to pull yourself up a ledge, even smaller ledges. Reloading is slower, just in general, but these new guns also reload slower, and there's no sleight of hand in the game anymore to speed any of that up. On top of that, with reloading, you can't sprint while reloading. I do recommend, if you haven't yet, turn off the setting for sprint, cancel, reload. That will tremendously help you. But by default, you can't tack sprint while reloading anymore, nor while plating. Those are individual perks that also, when you put on, still are a bit slower than what they were. And even taking plates in general is slower. Swapping weapons is slower. There's no fast hands in this either to let you swap weapons faster. Even when you knock somebody out, there's actually a second or two of immunity, which I'm sure you've realized if you're playing, where you try and finish them off, but they are immune to damage. So you have to let them live a little longer. Wait that beat, maybe it adds that awkward timing. And even with Omnimovement, I think a lot of people are just moving slower in general because they're also doing so many accidental actions, like accidentally diving or crouching. There is a good hybrid setting for controllers, I do know. However, on mouse and key, we don't have a dedicated prone button. So if we have any movement, we will always be diving or sliding rather than just crouching. The best alternative that I have for that is I have to ADS or hit my right trigger, do a right click, and then hit prone or crouch to ensure that I don't do it. But if I have a knife out, that doesn't work because I end up just swinging with the knife. And it's just like, there's a lot of quirkiness with it that just slows you down. I'd also love an option to set my walking speed for like the walking button that you can set on mouse to go to the maximum of what the hip walking speed is, since we can't control and fine-tune the movement like you can with a stick on the controller. And while I do like the weapons on the ground being highlighted into the different colors, one of the problems that I have with this is the red icon should just be an indicator for custom loadouts. Right now, it is highlighting gulag weapons as well as just the starter pistol when you come in with that. If anything, make these gray. Like, I don't want to be seeing a red weapon and getting excited for that to just run up to it and pick it up and see that it literally has no attachments on it. It was just from the gulag. Additionally, that red pistol that's on the ground looks like it's a mine or something, and I keep getting scared of it. It's just a starter pistol. Some of the ways that the equipment was changed, like stims, that was probably the best thing about the game when it first came out. The stims, mind-blowing. 30% movement speed increase for, I think it was about 3 seconds. Crazy. They've nerfed that down to a 15% movement speed increase and only for 1 second. So it's drastically worse. But that stacked with Resolute was mind-blowing. It was so much fun. That was the highlight for me, running around with that over the weekend. Now, you could still get some good boosts with that with stims and Resolute in general, but them nerfing the heck out of smokes has made stims and other attachments and equipment more viable. Kind of goes back to some of the wins, I think, at the beginning, how they are changing the way that you actually want to play the game, and we'll see where that kind of levels out over time with what they even did. One of the worst things, though, and I think this is even more dramatic for Warzone players that I want to mention here, is the gun leveling. It is so slow to level up your guns. I think they've designed this so that they want you to go through the progression of the guns, prestige, go through more progression, prestige, and you're getting to like 3rd or 4th prestige, slowly working your way through all of the guns, but that is not how you play this game. You need the attachments for the weapons to get good builds. And so I understand that for the camos, if that's something that you get over multiple prestiges, whatever, but you need to be able to get the attachments for the gun so that you can actually play it. And then you can kind of try different builds. And that hopefully, to me, is more of the design. I mean, I get making some progression, and it's even nice. You get like the suppressor right away and the vertical recoil right away, vert grip. So like there is a couple good unlocks right away, but man, leveling the guns is just, it's been more miserable in this game than it has been before, and I've gone in and tried Plunder as well, because that's usually where I tell people, especially if they don't buy Black Ops 6, that's where you go to level guns, and it's not great. Yeah, Plunder does not feel great either, especially because the actions that you take don't seem to level up your weapons. It's just kills that will actually level up your weapons, and it does seem like there's more redeploy drones to even get around there too, but it can still be difficult to actually find people and get in continued fights. That was what was nice about Purgatory, at least, was like you can constantly get into a ton of fights on Rebirth Island, much smaller kind of Plunder-esque vibe, but you could really get a lot of good quick repetitions and practice in of what like a TDM is. And maybe you got to just go play Resurgence and play that TDM style there, but you still aren't going to have your own weapons. You're just going to be at the mercy of whatever weapons you find on the ground, which is a terrible way to level up and like experience and get repetitions in with a gun and just learn the game. Especially if you're just talking about like the casual player who needs to get on and level up all of these weapons. Now, once you get to level 24, there's going to be the armory unlock system. I haven't even seen it in the game, although it was in the patch notes that you'll be able to use that for specifically all the old guns that are in the game. In my opinion, this should also work for the new guns. as well. That would be a great solution where now you could unlock some of the new weapons attachments, so you don't need to get the AK all the way to level 40 something to get the rapid fire attachment and make this even semi-viable, especially in this mode where, you know, it's already not that great anyway. So I feel like it was already slow for Black Ops 6 and how that was. I've maxed out all the ARs, SMGs, snipers, and I've done it by now, but I also used double XP for the entire way of it, and that was my main focus when this all came out. It just seemed a lot longer than the previous ones. And maybe they're just trying to get you to go buy Black Ops 6 to make it a bit easier. So you can go do that hardcore grind and just lose your mind. But I think it'd be better if they just made it more fun and enjoyable and let you play it in this game too, you know? One other thought that I had on the gameplay, I went a little longer on that one, is they should let you drop your lethals and your tacticals as well, your equipment. They've made it so now you can still drop your weapons and gas mask and a couple things, but you can't drop a self-res, you can't drop lethals. So if you want to just get your buddy a stim or a throwing knife or whatever, and then you can still do it by hitting a munitions box and kind of overfilling yourself, but it would be nice if you could still drop that for your teammates. Also, vehicles, I just want to touch on. They said they did a big overhaul on these. Wow, was it a big overhaul for the helicopter. This thing can spin around like a helicopter. It's crazy. Yeah, not even a real helicopter, though. And then the movement speed is worse, okay? The thing for me is it needs to accelerate quicker. All of these vehicles, even the ATV, feels slower for acceleration. If I'm going and trying to run out of zone and I get a vehicle and I'm trying to drive into zone, that should speed me up, not slow me down. And I think they're already relatively easy to destroy. I don't know. I don't mind the vehicles being easier to destroy. Just let, you know, if that's the problem, you don't want a quick accelerating thing to have too much health, drop the health for it and give it more acceleration, even if it doesn't up the overall speed. I want this to feel like it's actually worth it to get in to try and rotate, not just annoying. I don't want to get in a vehicle and feel like, oh, this is the worst. I want to get in a vehicle and feel like, yeah, this is cool. Even the motorbikes, they do feel a little easier to control than what they were in the past from Caldera, but it hasn't felt, you know, like, oh, this is as great as I was hoping it could be, per se. Maybe some freedom with some of the tricks. I think didn't they used to have tricks on it? Nonetheless, those are some of my thoughts, some of the problems that I've found so far. I'm sure I missed some stuff. There's probably a million other bugs you guys have faced as well. Let me know in the comments down below. Again, keep it civil. Keep it constructive with it. I do love this game and want to see it improved over time. Like I said at the beginning, I'm guessing this is going to be 2 to 3 seasons before we see some good significant updates that are, you know, polishing this out. That's my guess in terms of why we're at where we're at, and also why we don't have the new big map, Avalon, which we did a fly around on. It looks like it's quite done, especially because a lot of those maps are multiplayer maps that we're already playing. My guess that's going to be next year. Apparently, we're going to have Verdansk coming back, and I'm hoping that they get all of this stuff sorted before Verdansk comes out. And I'm even more worried then, after seeing this release, that by the time that comes around, we're still going to have so many issues and problems on the new map, let alone if they fix all of this stuff, that we might be in for a rough ride of that one. If you enjoyed the content, though, give it a like. If you're interested in subscribing, supporting all the content that I create across all my channels, stories, Instagram, even support the Discord where you guys can find games with each other, then consider joining as a member of the Mountaineers. Or stop by one of my streams, say what up, tell me what you think about some of this in person. Live every weekday, 10 a.m. Pacific on my main Stone Mount 64 channel. That's it for this one, though. Thanks so much for watching.